Right, moving on to the NBA East semis, and the Milwaukee Bucks on Thursday night able to force a Game 7 with a 104-89 victory, 38 for Chris Middleton, 30 for Giannis. The Nets got 32 from Durant, shot 15 of 30 from the floor. James Harden still looked pretty severely limited, but he did get 16 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. He was 5 for 9 from the floor. And then over down in Atlanta, the Philadelphia 76ers able to bounce back from their big Game 5, big blown lead, I should say. And they beat the Hawks 104-99. Tobias Harris and Seth Curry, each with 24 points apiece. Joel Embiid also with 22. Trae Young had 34. He also got 17 from Kevin Huerter, but pretty poor performances from Bogdan Bogdanovic, John Collins, and Lou Williams, also not very good. So we got 2 Game 7s coming up. I believe the Bucks and Nets, they'll play this evening, and I would guess the 76ers and Hawks are tomorrow. So, Drink, what do you think of the Game 6 performances, and what do you see coming up in the Game 7s?
All right, so we'll talk about the prelims, the 76ers and the Hawks first. Listen, I don't understand with the 76ers, right? First of all, this is what they have made very, very clear in this series. When they come and play defense, it's nothing the Hawks can do with them. Nothing the Hawks can do with them. They can make the Hawks turn over the ball 10 straight possessions and, just blow the game wide open. The problem with that is they're inconsistent. So they'll get a 20-point lead and then go flop it off and start shooting shots with their elbows, start doing all this other craziness, sliding on their face. I don't know what they're doing out there. Just to let the Hawks back in and build suspense, I guess, and then the Hawks win. I don't want to disrespect the Hawks because I think what the Hawks are doing is fantastic. I done became a bigger fan of Trae Young. I became an even bigger fan of Nate McMillan now. I'm really a fan of what the Hawks doing. John Collins, even though John Collins and Bogdanovic, those guys are not playing the best, I still like those guys. DeAndre Hunter, I was a fan of his before he got hurt. Thought he was the best defensive player on the team. All that wrapped up, right? Clint Capella that made him a nice role on the team. This series should be over, and they ain't playing. This series should be over. I don't know why the 76ers are messing around, flopping around, and I got it. Embiid torn ACL, but he's still playing. So how do you gauge that? It's just like James Harden with the Nets, which I'm gonna talk about here in a minute. He's still playing, so you rate it how you rate it. And if Embiid can go off in the first half, I don't understand why he can't do the same thing. Not exactly the same thing, but at least maintain what you did in the first half. This whole going to sleep in the fourth quarter thing that Embiid got going on, that's just not going to work. But at least Embiid is doing something. Let's talk about his running mate a little bit. Old Ben Simmons here. I don't know what Doc Rivers is supposed to do with Ben Simmons. I mean, my God. Doc Rivers is putting his name on the line because he's trying to play what was supposedly supposed to be one of his cornerstones as much as he could play him without him being a liability to the team. The problem is, anytime he on the court, he a liability to the team. Because all the other team is going to do is say, Hacker Simmons. And then it started getting into Ben Simmons' head mentally. He started missing dunks. He missing layups. He's like turning over the ball. All stuff he didn't do in the regular season. It's starting to make me think, this year in particular, that Ben Simmons don't have the mental makeup to be a championship player. Because I'm looking at Ben Simmons, and I got it. He's not good at the free throw line. He refused to take threes, and I got that. And I was willing to take that as long as he can still orchestrate the offense at a high pace. He can dominate the post like he was doing in the regular season, and he can make so many plays. I'm not seeing any of that. I literally watched him miss 4 free throws, Then he gets a wide open layup. He airballs a layup. Then he only takes about 2 perimeter shots a game. And when he takes both of them, he's gonna miss both of them. It's just like, what is Ben Simmons bringing to the table at this point? I gotta know what he's bringing to the table. Because now it looks like Embiid and a bunch of guys. Because I ain't even talked about Tobias Harris. Oh, there go another Max guy that's out here flopping around. I mean, granted, at this point, your best lineup going to include Maxey and old Shake Milton. At this point, go ahead and start them two. Get them two on out here. Put Embiid at the 5. Put old Shaky out here. Get Maxey out here, and then you figure out what you do with the 3 and 4 position. But them 3 spots right there are solidified. And I guess you need Curry out here. He been doing this thing, no disrespect. Put him out there, but man, you might have to do a 3-guard set out here. Cause Tobias Harris, he ain't cutting it, folks. Simmons, he ain't cutting it. All this money you spent on these guys ain't cutting it. I would rather see Korkmaz pay 46 minutes at this point than to see Ben Simmons. But that's neither here nor there. Why? I say that because tomorrow night, I think the 76ers get their act together. They win. They're in the Eastern Conference Finals. If they were to lose to the Hawks, Ben Simmons got to go. Ben Simmons got to go. If they lose to the Hawks and they get eliminated from the playoffs tomorrow, Elton Brand, whoever running the show up there, Ben Simmons got to go. You got to find a trade partner. I know some teams that can use his skill sets. Orlando, Sacramento, Chicago, and whatever else team that didn't get invited to the bubble last year. Any of those teams, he can go to any of those teams. He can be the number 1 player there, and they can just keep losing, and nobody lose any sleep about it. But as far as a championship team, I'm starting to believe Ben Simmons ain't that guy. He's just not that dude for that. So as far as that series go, I think 7-6 still win, but I'm just not. I'm out of Ben Simmons. Give my boy Thibault more playing time. So now to Atlanta portion. Atlanta, once again, like you said, the golf clap. I got to put some respect on what they've done in this series, but there's no way they should win this last game and get into the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, if they do get to the Eastern Conference Finals, it's time to give my boy Trae Young the same respect we've been giving Luka Doncic. Because once again, they got traded for each other. They came out in the same draft. Remember this. I think Dallas, or was it Atlanta? Maybe Atlanta had the 3rd pick. They drafted Luka just to trade with Dallas to get Trae Young. Remember that. They traded 3 and 5, I think was the picks in that draft. So that same parallel that we like to run with New Orleans and Memphis, it's the same parallel with Luka Doncic and Trae Young. Same draft, both top 5 picks. Both have made, 2 to 3? I think Luka made 3 All-Star appearances or something like that. Trae Young made 2. I know he made 1 more than Trae Young because he made it this year and Trae Young didn't, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. With that said, though, listen, if Trae Young get into the East Conference Finals, we definitely got to put more respect on his name. I mean, we like to talk about how Luka could be the future of the NBA. Why couldn't Trae Young be if he made it just as far as Luka made it in his career, right? So I just want to throw that out there. Now, that was the co-main event. Let's go over here to the main event. Milwaukee Bucks, Brooklyn Nets. Here's the deal, folks. Game 7 tonight. Me and my partner Jay, we was talking about it. I'm gonna let him speak his piece. My piece is this. When it comes to confidence, I'm a big confidence guy. I would say something, and I'll be totally wrong, but I'm confident in a mug, even though it's totally wrong. This is how I am. I'm built with confidence. When I look at the Milwaukee Bucks, I just don't see the confidence. I don't see the eye in the tiger. I don't see the want to. I see a lot of second guessing, fumbling around. Once again, you know how I feel about Giannis at the top of the key doing the Tootsie Roll special. It just, I just lack the confidence. Now, if you want to tell me, well, you seen how the game started off last time, and you remember you texted me. You said, hey, the Bucks are off and rolling. And what I said, we'd have seen this movie before. This ain't nothing new. The Bucks will get off rolling, and then they just fall through a pothole, and everything they did in the beginning of the game don't matter. Once again, that's exactly what happened in Game 6. So, I mean, no, the Bucks did win the game, but once again, the Bucks came out smoking. The Nets got back into the game, is what I mean, because they don't hold on. Like whatever it is, they don't hold on to them leads. When they build a good lead, they don't hold on to it, and I just have more confidence in the Nets because of that. Now, as it's currently constructed, the Bucks is a better team. The Bucks are the better team in this series, as is with Kevin Durant and 75% James Harden. The Bucks is a better team. I'm not gonna deny that. I just don't think they had a mental. They're not the most mentally strong team in this series right now. That's the Nets, as far as I'm concerned, because the Nets should not won 2 of these games that they done won. You want to give me the first 2? Absolutely, they should have won those 2. But
Game 5 was Milwaukee's.
Right, and that should have been a Milwaukee dub by a mile, and that didn't happen. That's when I start looking at the confidence and the mental makeup of both teams and say, I like that team mental makeup a little better than that team. So that's where I'm at with the Nets. With that said, so I don't be talking forever, I got the Nets winning tonight. I got them going to the Eastern Conference Finals over the Bucks. And then I got the 76ers winning tomorrow night. So I think we get a 1-2 game 1 in Philly. On Tuesday, I would presume.
Yep, with you on the Hawks and 76ers. I'm kind of just still scratching my head to why this series is still in play. I feel like after Philly won Game 3, it was like, okay, this might be at the most. This might be go to 6. Maybe Atlanta win one more game, and really that's really almost what happened. Atlanta bounced back in Game 4, and it became a best of 3. But Game 5 was Philly's, and they blew the big lead, blew a 26-point lead. But they're able to bounce back, come back in Game 6. But it does kind of, and I'll tell you, these parallels that we talk about, where you mentioned with Luka, Trae Young, John Morant, Zion Williamson. Another one that I'm kind of looking at now is Doc Rivers and Ty Lue. It ain't gonna be a good look. If Doc Rivers, because we've been giving them the love all year, like, man, Doc Rivers done unlocked something with this 76ers team. Making Brett Brown look like he should never get a head coaching job again. You can't win with that talent. I don't know what you're gonna win with. But now Ty Lue, and we thought Ty Lue was in a little bit of a disadvantaged position over there with the Clippers, and now, come on, Doc, you got to get through to the Eastern Conference Finals now, because I don't see no injuries that Danny Green ain't there, but I'm talking about it's not like one of your superstars is not playing. I get it. Embiid's out there. He appears to be somewhat compromised, but he's still out there and giving it his all. And I am going to say, and I've said this a few times, the more and more as time goes on, the more and more foolish these Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid conversations used to be about, if you had to trade one, like, who would you trade? There was a lot of respected people who was like, man, I'm going with Ben Simmons. These people look like ain't no way you ain't got a leg to stand on right now if you still want to stand by that. This guy's an alleged starting point guard, and he put up a whopping 6 points and 5 assists last night. And who would think that is acceptable for any team? Doc Rivers cut his minutes last night. Ben Simmons in this series, he's been playing 35 to 38 minutes this entire series, and he gets 25 last night. I think Doc Rivers lost faith in Ben Simmons last night. And then you look at the energy and the young energy that Tyrese Maxey was playing with, and rightfully so. These guys, even without Danny Green, they still got, a just host of guys that they can run out there in the backcourt. They put Korkmaz in the starting lineup. They still got George Hill, Matisse Thybulle, Shake Milton, and Tyrese Maxey they can roll with. So if I'm Doc Rivers, and if I have indeed lost a little bit of faith in Ben Simmons, I mean, I got the horses behind him that I should be confident in to let them come in and get it done. And just I mean, just to reference the shooting real quick, it ain't about necessarily any type of shooting in particular. I don't even care if he takes threes, but he appears to me unwilling to shoot. Period. And no point is more indicative of that than this guy is shooting 30% from the free throw line in this series, which is incredibly an upgrade from the first round when he shot 22%. Think about how awful that is. You know, if we're gonna crush Giannis constantly for his like shooting, which is a deficiency, no question. Ben Simmons should get crushed by all the rubble on earth.
Whoa. Where there's expectation, there's expectation. Ben Simmons ain't a two-time MVP. Ben Simmons was never. I ain't gonna say
Ben
never,
Simmons is a point guard. That's what I've been told.
He fine, but to compare him to Giannis, just be fair here. Giannis is at that level, the MVP level, where you get crushed for every little thing you do. We over here wondering if Ben Simmons is the actual all-star. We still going through the investigation to make sure that's solidified. So it's a little bit different. I get what you're saying, but it's a little different. Giannis, Ben Simmons, somewhere down here, past the mark. That's Ben Simmons. He's young.
Joel Embiid well above. Joel Embiid closer to Giannis.
Right.
I
So
put them on even.
If we were talking about Joel Embiid, then I would like accept that a little more. But it's kind of like apples and oranges because Giannis and Ben Simmons, I don't know.
And by the way, just as an aside, allow me to be the unlikely defender of one Tobias Harris. I think Tobias Harris has been, you know, I don't think he's been great, but if you throw out his Game 5 performance, he's been solid. I think he's done his job. So I'm not going to be too hard on Tobias Harris. I think he's been like solid, and
he playing up to the contract.
I wouldn't say he's quite max, but I think he's closer. Like he's almost. I can see him like above the water. I can see his like head about to pop out to the contract line. So last year him and Horford was down there drowning, not making it at all. For Atlanta, you know, I'm not gonna spend too much time on Atlanta. I might have to though if they win Game 7. But you know, everything they've done since everything they've done in this series to me has been extra. Because I didn't expect them to win this series. I expected them to be out in like 5 games, you know, when this series started. And they just continue to overachieve. And you are absolutely right about Trae Young. And like, you know, I think it's fair to put him and Luka back on the same wavelength, so to speak. I wouldn't get too carried away with that and like elevate Trae over Luka, because I think it does matter that the West still has a bit more depth. I think it's a little bit more difficult to get stuff done over there than the East. Because we said all year that 4 or 5 matchup in the East was going to be kind of that sweet spot. Whoever gets in that.
Hold up. No, I'm not saying Trae should be over Luka, but if Trae Young goes into Philly and beat the number 1 seed Philadelphia 76ers after just beating a scrappy New York Knicks team, right? And Luka Doncic was up 2-0 on a very good Clippers team. They end up losing the series in 6. Trae Young gets to the Eastern Conference Finals after possibly beating the Knicks and the Philadelphia 76ers. I don't know if we getting carried away. I got it that the West supposed to be a lot more deeper than the East, but for a team like the Hawks to be, we consider the Knicks to be a top 5 defensive unit all year, right? Then Philadelphia been a top 5 defensive unit all year as well, with a legitimate star in Joel Embiid and then some good pieces. I just gotta say, man, it's something to be said, because we go back and forth. We talk about Luka didn't have any help because, you know, Porzingis decided just not to show up at all, right?
And that's another thing, yeah.
But we just talked about how bad Collins and Bogdanovich and Lou Williams and all those guys been struggling in this series, and yet still Trae Young still has been able to get the job done. If they go and beat Philadelphia tomorrow night in a Game 7 in Philadelphia, Come on, man. We can't overlook that because if that was Luka doing the same thing to the Clippers in the first round, we would be parades, balloons, all this other stuff. And I got it. But this year you have said this out of your own mouth. Though the East, especially at the top,
The top
seems
three.
to be a lot more tougher than the West at the top. That's all I'm saying. We got to keep the same energy when we just talking about just the young guy, like those two guys. I'm not talking about the rest of the NBA. Just the parallel of those two young players.
And I think before this playoff started, I thought it was Luka was a clearly had a
Clear
lead
cut.
here.
Right,
I think
right.
I think right now, win or lose for Trae Young in Game 7, it's a debate now. It's a debate like of who you would rather have. I would still go with Luka, but I think like Trae Young. I mean, what can you say about the guy? He's played great. Like he is the reason first and foremost that Atlanta is giving Philadelphia all they can handle. But I will say I don't want to get. But as far as the first round series, I never thought Dallas was going to win the first round against the Clippers, and I never thought the Knicks were going to give the Hawks a real run because I just didn't believe in their offense. And I will also say so in regards to the two teams supporting cast. I know Collins and Bogdanovich, they were bad in Game 6, but I feel like if you look at those rosters around their two young stars, man, I think Atlanta's got a sizable advantage there.
Only because Porzingis ain't playing. Because before the season, you wouldn't have said no other player on Atlanta was better than Porzingis. And before the season started.
Nope.
But Porzingis has been so awful.
He's been a huge disappointment so far. All right, let me get over to the main event, as you say, and rightfully so. And this is where Luka and Trae, we on a little different side of the fence. Speaking of that energy, we still on the different sides of this one because I'm going. I think look, Milwaukee. I think this is Milwaukee's time, and I'm looking at the Bucks right now, and I'm saying if not now, then when? You know what I'm saying? Like if this is because a lot of teams, if you look back. They catch little different breaks that kind of go their way, whether it's LeBron when Draymond got suspended, and then the year before that it went the other way for Golden State when Kevin Love had got hurt against the Celtics in the first round, and then Kyrie gets hurt in Game 1, and then it's LeBron and
Matthew Dellavedova. That was his brother.
This dude played 42 minutes and he pumping fluids in him in the hospital. But I think it's kind of a similar thing. Both of those teams, the Warriors in 15, the Cavs in 16, they seized on those opportunities. This is the same thing for me. Milwaukee has another opportunity here, and I think they take advantage of it. And if they don't, I don't know if they'll ever win. Because how many more, what else can you do to get better? They seem like they didn't try about everything. They're the healthier team. They're missing one piece, but it's not a key piece. It's like the fifth most important starter they have. So the least important, sorry to say, no disrespect, DiVincenzo, but they can get by without him. If DiVincenzo go down and you say, oh, PJ Tucker, come on in. Well, that's fine. Let's roll.
Right.
And then the Nets are just this is a walking wounded bunch. Kevin Durant is giving you everything he's got. He's been great, and I think PJ Tucker has been equal to the task. But even so, Kevin Durant is still doing his job. He is still leading this team. We know Kyrie Irving is not available. You said James Harden is 75%. I think he's at 50%. I
was being generous. I was being generous.
Okay. I think he's at 50%, and I feel I'm being a little generous. This guy, I'm looking at Game 6, and I don't know if you remember this play, but this dude, I think he gets a steal, and it looks like he could get out in front of the pack and go down, and he didn't even try.
Right.
He did not even try. This guy, he has no burst and no acceleration, so he can't get out in transition. And in the half court game, it's just one of those situations where, the versatility we talked about with the big men earlier in the show, James Harden, he's either going to dance with you at the 3-point line or he's attacking the rim where he's going to finish and or get fouled. And I'm saying to you, half of that is out the window. The only thing he can do when he tries to get to the basket, he can't get all the way. It just ain't happening. So the free throw attempts are going way down. The only thing he got left when he drives is the floater game. He can hurt you with some floaters. He can kick the ball around, do that. But the 3-point line, and we know how when that's one of those things like when James Harden is red hot, hotter than fish grease, as Mark Jones like to say.
Yeah, damn,
That's the bonus round. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's the bonus. But those aren't what you call high percentage shots. So I think what's happening is Milwaukee's having a bit of an easier time guarding him because he can't do as much. Right. So I think, and I don't, and it is true. I thought he was much better in Game 6 than Game 5, and some of his 3-point shots looked like he was getting better, more elevation on them. He was rising up a little bit better. But I think the difference is in this game is I don't think James Harden can come out there and just put up a 30-point triple double. I don't think that's in him. And even if KD comes out and gets you another 40-point game, which I think is going to be required, there's still going to have to be an unlikely hero for Brooklyn. They're going to need another Jeff Green Game 5 performance from Jeff Green, Blake Griffin, or Joe Harris. It's likely going to have to be one of those three guys for me.
I feel like, I don't know why, I feel like Brooklyn crowd, James Harden gonna give you more. I agree with you, but I think Blake, I don't know why. Some keeps telling me Blake Griffin gonna go for about, what do you think you would have to get out of Blake Griffin?
I think you'd have to get at least 20.
20?
I think probably likely 25.
I think we get 20. I think we can get 20 out of Blake Griffin tonight. I think the crowd will be enough to elevate, because that's what the crowd is for, the role players. I think the crowd will get a couple of role players to rise up, and it'll be enough. I'm telling you, James Harden, I think James Harden go for, it might not be a 30 plus. I think James Harden get you between 20 and 25. He'll get you 10 assists. You can throw that rebound crap out of here. He can't even jump up. So I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 rebounds, but I think he can still get you 25, 10, and like 3 tonight because of the crowd.
And I think for Milwaukee, I think Middleton's probably the most important piece for them tonight. But I will say, Giannis, the key thing I'm looking for is his decision making. I thought his decision making in Game 6 was the best it's been all series. He refused to get suckered into those 3-point shots, which are lower percentage shots for him. The mid-range stuff I'm okay with. I think those are better shots for him. But the X factor for Milwaukee is Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday been kind of a little bit under the radar. He's just not doing it. Haven't had that signature Drew Holiday performance. And he's another guy. Like, his 3-point shot hasn't really been there. But when he attacks the rim and plays aggressively and they involve him, they're a much better team. And I think if they do that and Chris Middleton keeps playing the way he's playing, he's been really good since Game 3. I think Milwaukee's going to take care of it. They'll advance, and we'll see Philadelphia and Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Finals.